Well, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? It is your boy, D-WIZZLE. Thank you as always for tuning back into the channel. And today we're going to be talking about the fourth installment in the Predator franchise, The Predator, that was released September 14th, 2018. It was directed by Shane Black and it stars Olivia Munn, Keegan-Michael Key, Boyd Holbrook, Thomas Jane, Sterling K. Brown, Trevante Rhodes, Alfie Allen, Yvonne Strahovski, Jake Busey, Augusto Aguilera, and Neal Matter. Okay, so to start with, I'm a huge Predator fan. I've watched all the Predator movies. I really enjoy the franchise, and a little bit of a controversial statement. I know that Predator and Alien are in the same world still, technically. I enjoy the Predator films more than the Alien films. Yeah, I know, but I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but to me, I think the Predator franchise is more consistent than the Alien films. Of course, I really enjoyed the first Predator, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thought it was a really good action film, and it definitely changed the landscape of action films during that time. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger was great in the movie. The cast was pretty good for the most part. I didn't love it like everyone else does, but for me, I do think it was a really well-made film. Predator 2, I know a lot of people didn't like, but I personally enjoyed it. I know it's really over the top, and it felt completely different from the first film. Instead of being in the jungle, it's in LA, in a dystopian LA, and they had Danny Glover be the lead instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not as good as Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I still thought he was a strong lead. And I also appreciate that they expanded the lore of Predator in that film. It went into directions that we haven't seen before, and for me, I thought the action was a little bit better than it was in the first film. And then we get to the Alien vs. Predator movies. I know they're not canon now, but I just want to say something about it since they had Predators in it. The first Alien vs. Predator, I didn't like, but I didn't hate it either. It definitely retconned lore from Predator and the Alien films that wasn't consistent with the standalone movies. And the story wasn't as strong, the characters were one-dimensional, but pretty much if you want to watch it to see Alien and Predators fighting, it's good on that aspect, I guess, but not a movie I want to revisit. And then we have Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which I think is absolutely horrible. I think it's probably the worst Alien Predator film in the franchise, discounting Alien Resurrection, because I thought that was pretty awful too. But to me, that just did nothing for the franchise. It didn't expand the lore at all. It did have an interesting concept though with the Pred Alien, but it barely went anywhere with that. And plus, the film was shot horribly. The editing was terrible. The movie was lit so dark I couldn't tell what was happening. The characters were one-dimensional. Not even one-dimensional. They were caricatures. I didn't care anything about the characters. They just turned into a teen slasher film, which was not what the Predator or Alien films were supposed to be. So, just trash. And then we fast forward to 2010, where we have Predators, which was produced by Robert Rodriguez, and I actually love that film, and that's actually my favorite Predator film in the franchise. I know a lot of people don't really care for it or forgot about it, but for me it just did so much for the Predator mythos. They went back to the original roots of the first Predator, where they're back in the jungle again, except this time you had the Predators capture a bunch of hunters and killers and mercenaries, drop them on their planet, and then a bunch of predators are hunting them for sport, pretty much. Kind of like a game reserve. I thought that was really interesting. And also you had a bunch of other, tribes and species of predators that we haven't seen before. And it's to the point where there's some species that are against other species. So I thought that was really fascinating. So for me, I loved Predators, and I think that movie did, for Predators what Aliens did for that franchise. I think it's just as good as Aliens to me. So there, yeah, like I said, there hasn't really been a Predator film that I didn't like, and even some that wasn't as strong as others. There's still stuff that I appreciate about it. So fast forward to now. I didn't think that they were going to make another Predator film because I know the Alien franchise is more popular than the Predator franchise. We've been getting a bunch of Alien films with Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and those two films I didn't really care for. And for the longest time, I just wanted them to make another Predator movie. Just make another Predator movie. When can we get another one of those? I'm getting drained from all these Alien films. Can we just go back to, going back to Predator because they have better quality films? And pretty much my wishes have been granted because they are working on another film. However, it was going to be written and directed by Shane Black. So if you guys have been watching if you guys watch my Marvel Cinematic Universe podcasts, you would know I don't like Shane Black. I don't care for him as a director, and his films I never really cared for either. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was meh. I hated Iron Man 3. You guys probably know when you watch the podcast. And I didn't see The Nice Guys, but I kept hearing a bunch of mixed things about it. So I didn't really have an interest in seeing it. Maybe one day I'll take a look at it, but I'm not in any rush to do it. But the main problem for me with Shane Black is his comedy. I think his comedy is misplaced, it's awkward, and it's juvenile in places. And, he just doesn't know how to make a serious film to me. It's like every film he has to put in this unnecessary comedy. I feel like he's a worse version of Joss Whedon to me. And I know that Shane Black starred in the first Predator film, and he definitely stood out like a sore thumb to me in the first Predator movie. You could tell he was writing his own, dialogue in certain moments. I do know he had a hand in writing the overall script for the first film. So I guess that's why they wanted to get Shane Black on the project. But I don't think he's the right choice, really. I mean, even though I do know he had a hand in the Predator franchise, but just him solely getting so much creative control, I'm worried that the movie is not going to be as good as the other films. And behind the scenes, I heard there was a bunch of studio interference, and they had to do a bunch of rewrites and restructuring and reshoots and whatever. So that was warning sign for me. And then I saw the trailers for this film, and I didn't know how to feel. The marketing was all over the place with this movie. You had one trailer where it was promoting it like an A-Team type action film, and then you had another one where it was promoting it as a comedy. Then you had one that was promoting it as a balls to the wall action extravaganza, and then you had one that was promoting it as a scary sci-fi horror. So I'm like, what is the tone of this film? What's this trying to accomplish? I don't know. And then you have like a 12-foot tall Predator in the movie, which I guess is interesting, but comparing that to what we see in Predators, what new stuff are you going to bring to the table, really? So I was apprehensive going into this film, but I'm hoping for the best because like I said, there hasn't been a Predator film that I didn't like or didn't appreciate. So I at least hope that Shane Black can bring something to this film that I can at least say that it's worth watching and it's something that I could revisit again. So I saw this opening night. What did I think about the film? Okay. Alright. So This movie, this movie's a mess. It's pretty much, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much what I expected, but at the same time, I I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's weird with me. So I will say this: this doesn't feel anything like the previous Predator movies. This movie is not serious. This is not scary. This is not horror like the other films. So if you came to see the Predator for that, you're going to be disappointed. However, I mean, what it is, it's an action comedy pretty much. And I will say, I don't think on that aspect it completely failed. There were parts of the movie where I thought that it worked, and then there were parts of the movie that I thought it didn't make sense to me. I will say, I did say that Shane Black's writing, this comedy stuff didn't work for me in previous films, but I will say that the comedy and the dialogue, there are times where it did work, and I was legit laughing, and so that's something that I didn't really expect, to happen. I will say the main lead in the movie, Boyd Holbrook, I thought he was fine. There's not really a lot to his character, really. Honestly, he reminded me a lot of Adrian Brody in Predators, except for me, actually. I actually bought Adrian Brody more than Boyd, which was surprising to me. Boyd, I don't really know that. I don't know that much about him as an actor. The only thing I've seen him in was in Logan, and his character in that wasn't really that big, really. But for this, I think he did a good job, and I definitely like this dynamic with his son, who has Asperger's in the film, and I do like his dynamic with that a little bit. To me, though, I think as far as the human characters, the person that stood out to me the most was Trevante Rhodes. You guys probably recognize him from Moonlight. But to me, I thought he was much more charismatic. He was more likable. He was fun to watch. He had some decent action scenes here and there. For me, I thought he should have been the lead of the film, but instead it's Boyd's, which was fine. But I'm like, I really wish we could have followed him. It would help me to get more emotionally invested. Olivia Munn, I don't understand the hate for Olivia Munn. I actually like Olivia Munn a lot. I think she's molding herself to become a fine actress. And I actually bought her as the scientist in this movie. I thought she did well. I don't know why people are hating on her. I thought she did the role pretty well. However, there was like a character switch towards the end, which wasn't consistent with how she was in the beginning. This is not really a spoiler. I mean, yeah, for the first half, she's like this very smart scientist, and then for the second half, she turns into this action star towards the end. Which, I mean, look, I don't have a problem with women kicking ass. You guys know how much I love my female characters. But if they just established that she was trained or something, if there was just a little bit of dialogue that said that she was trained to learn how to use a gun and fight and stuff like that, I would have been A-okay with it. I would have rolled along with it. But for me, it just felt kind of weird to me. As far as the band of mercenaries, I enjoyed them, but they're pretty much caricatures. Keegan-Michael Key, I was worried about him the most. He felt the most out of place out of everyone in the film, but surprisingly enough, I enjoyed him. He wasn't annoying, and yeah, those corny lines that I saw in the trailer, they are there, but they didn't annoy me as much as I thought they were going to. Obviously, it's always great to see Thomas J in the film, though he didn't have a lot to do either. And then Augusto Aguilera, I kind of liked him. I think he was the weirdest one out of the bunch. But I did like his interactions with all the other mercenaries. So I thought he did fine. And then we have the human antagonist. Do we need a human antagonist in this movie? No. But yeah, the human antagonist, Sterling K. Brown, I actually thought he was really good. He was chewing up scenery. He was that mustache twirling macho man for most of the movie. So on that aspect, I thought he was funny. But I didn't think he needed to be there, honestly, because you already had a bunch of other stuff going on with the Predators and stuff like that. So for him, we didn't need a human antagonist. But since we have him there, he was at least entertainingly over the top. So I'll say on that aspect. But you guys don't want me to talk about the human stuff for most of the review. You guys want me to talk about the Predators. How were the Predators in this film? I will say, the biggest positive about this movie are the Predators. The Predators are great. Whenever they're on the screen, it's crazy. This is the goriest Predator film out of the entire franchise, and I didn't expect that at all. These Predators in this film are ripping people apart, gutting them like a fish, ripping their heads off, ripping limbs off. It's pure insanity. These are Predator kills that I haven't seen from the previous films, and they definitely went like balls to the wall with these action sequences with the Predators. They didn't hold any punches with that. So on that aspect, I thought it was really cool. The upgrade Predator, the 12-foot tall Predator, I thought he was cool. He was cool looking. He had a really cool fight sequence with the regular Predator in the movie. It wasn't really a fight. It was pretty much an ass kicking because that small Predator couldn't do anything with that upgrade Predator. So, but on that aspect, I thought it was cool. And then that huge Predator is just slaughtering people left and right. So of course that's really adrenaline pumping and exciting to see. Which brings me to my negatives. So I said this is the goriest Predator film in the franchise, which is kind of jarring for this because the movie is barely serious, as I said, and so you're having this gory action sequences clashing with the tone of being the action comedy and the humor and stuff like that. So the tone does not mix very well. It feels lopsided in places. I will say though, the first 25, 30 minutes, I thought it was pretty consistent and straightforward. But once we get into the stuff with the kid and the mercenaries, that's where it just starts getting really silly. And Sterling K. Brown, obviously, that's where it starts getting really silly and all over the place. The upgrade Predator had these Predator dogs, and I thought they were going to be really scary like the ones we saw from Predators, but no, they turned them into a joke. It's like they turned them into I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but I'm just like, they could have done so much more with that. As far as the upgrade Predator going after, the fugitive Predator, I wish there was more that they done with that story wise, because it's like you don't really understand the motivation of the upgrade Predator, really. I mean, yeah, they're after a certain something, but it's like, what does the upgrade Predator want to do with that? They don't really explain that, really. It's just he's after this thing that the regular Predator has, and he wants to take it for some reason. And then, where did this Predator come from? Was this a naturally born Predator, or was this a genetically enhanced Predator? I guess they kind of alluded to that in the movie, but they didn't go into it that much. And then the movie is really over-explaining what the Predator is. It's like they're giving exposition that doesn't need to be there. and it's like you could be taking this time to explain stuff that actually needed to progress the story. Like, there's this ongoing gag about the name of the predator. It's like they keep saying it's not a predator. It's like a football hunter or whatever. It's like, why are you calling it a predator? That doesn't make any sense to what the alien is. And it's like, well, we call it the predator because it sounded cool and this stuff like that. So I'm like, I do appreciate that they're, bringing us up to speed with what the predator is, so you don't have to watch the previous films to understand what's going on. But it's like you didn't need to explain every single aspect, because we at this point you should know what a predator is, and at this point the humans should know what a predator is, because there has been more than one occurrence of what these things are. So it's like you don't have to give us like a 101 course for like a good portion of the film. And when it comes to the reshoots for this film, I can definitely tell there was some reshoots, especially with the third act. The third act is where it just goes completely out of its mind, and I couldn't tell what was happening. It was just so jarring to me when it got to the third act and that whole climactic battle and stuff like that. It's just so much happening, and the actual ending of the movie, it just lost me there. I didn't know what direction they were trying to do. That was the biggest load of bullcrap I've seen, and it really hindered how I felt about the film. It's like, up until that point, I'm like, okay, it's fine, but that ending though, like, what were they thinking? So I really don't know how to feel about this movie. It's like, yeah, there's stuff that I enjoy in it, and but I can't say this is a good movie. And I definitely think this is the weakest one out of the franchise for sure. But I don't know if I do rewatch this film, it will only be for those Predator moments. I mean, yeah, some of the characters are fine, but it's like I don't know how to feel, guys. I had a hard time drawing my thoughts about this film. I just wish that they were given a little bit more time to restructure the whole story, so it wouldn't feel like this choppy mess that we gotten. And I heard the reshoots were done like 2 months before the film was released. 2 or 3 months, yeah. So like that was some Justice League stuff. I'm like, why are you completely changing the very end of the film so late? And why did you change it into this? It's like, I would have been completely fine if the movie got pushed back. I think it would have been better, and give Shane Black a little bit more, notes and stuff like that. But apparently, from what I heard, the studio tried to give him notes, and he didn't want to hear it. He just wanted to do what he wanted to do. So from the get-go, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just so confused. Like, I saw this movie like two times, 2 or 3 times, and I'm still like, I don't know how to feel. So I'm just gonna edit at this. If you guys are huge Predator fans, and if you're especially a huge fan of the first film, I don't know if you'll like this film, honestly. Especially when it gets to the ending, they are setting up for another movie, and with the direction that they're giving us, I don't know if I want to see that. And then if you are annoyed of Shane Black's humor, it's there are parts of it that work and there are parts of it that doesn't. So it's like, take that as you may. And if you miss the serious, dramatic horror tone of the previous films, you're not gonna get it here. However, I will say, if you guys are more casual to the Predator franchise and you just came to see Predators killing people and you enjoy Shane Black's humor, you'll probably get a kick out of it. But for me, being a hardcore Predator fan, I wish there's a lot more to be desired with this film. I was let down. However, I think I would watch this again, just to analyze it more, I guess. And there are some things about it that I enjoy. There's some cool action sequences and stuff like that. But, as far as the story and the narrative, what they're building, going forward, I don't know how to feel. So, I'll give The Predator a C. That's the best I can give it right now. It's not awful, but it's not good. And it's a movie that really suffered under the reshoots. And I think to an extent the director. I think there should have been a different director helming this. And if Shane Black really wanted to, get involved, he can have a little bit of, story here and there. But I think it was a bad idea to give him creative control. This is how I feel. What did you guys think about The Predator? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys think it was okay? Or were you guys just as confused as I am? Don't know how to feel about this movie. Comment down below and let me know. If you guys want me to do a spoiler review of this film, comment down below that too, and I'll probably do one at some point anyway. But yeah, I just need to watch this a lot more times. I'll probably get it on Blu-ray so I can complete my collection. But yeah, so thank you guys as always for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to be updated on future videos I'll be doing. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.